Hi everyone. As part of this problem, we have the input dataset named det.json. This dataset has two columns, name and mname, where name is the combination of first name and last name of the user and mname is the middle name of the user. So we have first name, last name, and we have middle name. As part of the output, what we have to do is we have to add this middle name as part of the first name and last name. We have to add it in between and produce a full name of the user having first name, middle name, last name as the output. So let's get started and solve this problem. So as a first step, we will load this input data set. So let's get going and solve this problem. So we will use the Spark Read API and read the data. So the format of the file is JSON. Let's specify where this file is located using the option path. We will go to the catalog and we will get the file path for name det.json. Let's copy the path. Let's add it here and load this. And let's see the data if it is correctly loaded. So let's run this. So as we see, we have rightly loaded the data set into the data frame. We have two columns, mname, which is the middle name of the user, and name, which is having the first and last name. So now let's work on the problem to add this middle name in between the first name and last name of the user. So for this, we will be using some of the Spark SQL functions. So to do that, we need to add the import statement. So let's quickly do that and we can get started. So it is done and we have executed it. Now let's get going and work on this problem. So what we will do is we will operate on this input data frame. Let's create a new column and call it as temp name. And here what we will do is this column that is name, we will create an array out of it by specifying the delimiter here as space. So we will use the split function and operate on the name column, which is having first name and last name, and specify the delimiter as space. So what split function does is based on this delimiter, it will create an array. It will split the values and create separate elements. So let's add this column. Let's run and see the output. So as we see, we have done a transformation. We have converted the name column into an array. Now, after having done this, if we see, we can point out to the first element of the array, and that will be our first name. So let's do that. So what we will do is, let's create a new column and let's call it as first name. And in the first name, what we will be doing is, we will be referring this array column that we just created, that is the temp name column. And we will get the first element that is present. So that we will be doing using the get item. And we will specify the index as 0, which indicates that we want the first element as the array is 0 index based. So let's run and see the output to see if we are rightly populating the first name column. So as we see from the array, we have fetched the first element which refers to the first name of the user. On similar lines, if we refer the second element of the array, that will be the last name. So let's do that quickly. We will simply copy this and do the modification. Let's refer the second element from the array and let's call the column as last name. Let's run this and see the output. So we have rightly divided the components into first name and last name. So now the work is simple. We have the first name, we have the middle name, and we have the last name. We simply need to have them concatenated together. So let's do that. So now we will create our required column, that is full name. And here we will be using the concat ws function, that is concat with separator. So first of all, we will be specifying the separator. So we want the columns first name, last name, and middle name to be separated by space. So we will specify that first, and then we will specify the columns in the order that we need it. So we need the first name, then we need the middle name, and finally we need the column last name. So in that order, we will specify them. And now let's run and see the output. So as we see, we have derived the full name. What we can do is just keep this column as part of the final output. So let's run this. So now we have got the final output, what we were looking for. We have inserted the middle name as part of the first name and last name. In between, we have added it. So let's go through and understand what we have done to solve this problem and have a quick summary. So as part of the input, we had the dataset namedet.json. We have loaded this using the Spark Read API, specifying the formatted JSON and loaded it into the input data frame. We have seen the data to check if the data is loaded correctly. And as we saw, we had two columns, middle name, which was the middle name of the user, and name, which was having the first and last name of the user. And we had to add this middle name in between the first and last name. To do that, what we did is we made use of the Spark SQL function split. We operated on the name column and split it by using the delimiter space. So this created an array for us, and it split the components first name and last name as a separate elements. And then we use the get item from this column and referred the indexes 0 to get the first name and referred the index 1 to get the last name. Finally, we use the concat ws, that is concat with separator function, to concat all the three columns that we have. We already had the middle name and we got this first name and last name. So we specified these columns in the sequence that we required, that is first name, middle name, last name. And here as the first parameter, we have added space, indicating that this column needs to be separated by spaces. So this way we derived the full name column. And as a last step, we just had this column as part of the final output, that is the full name. So this way we solved the problem. So please go through it. The input data set content will be added as part of the video description. If you found the video useful, please like it. If you have not yet subscribed the channel,
comment,
please
and
subscribe. And please share the video in your circle so that more people can benefit. Thank you.